Hey, I'm Draj, and welcome to Lifeline, where we will journey together through the darkest pits of gaming and come out alive. Today, we are talking about Overlord 2.
Overlord is a fantasy hack-and-slash series with real-time strategy and RPG elements. You play as the interchangeable Overlord, a faceless distant cousin of Sauron who doesn't have any real motivation for evil. Seriously, compare the two games. The Overlord goes somewhere, finds the tiniest thing to dislike, and then destroys it. The world seems to keep moving regardless of his actions. He only stumbles upon plot points and usually destroys them.
So if the games are interchangeable, why am I talking specifically about the second one? Well, while I do love the first game, the second game is just bigger. Bigger! This game, it's just bigger! No, grander! No, larger! No, damn it! This is Overlord 2!
Overlord 2 has a much grander scale than the original. The task given to you seems much more fitting for a champion of evil. As a young outcast from the frozen village of Nordberg, you discover your hidden abilities and use them to take your revenge on the world.
Because evil always finds a way.
However, you will have competition. The magic-hating Empire, who has established an oppressive autocracy over the world. Obviously, this can't be tolerated, so you valiantly set out to fight the Empire and establish your own oppressive autocracy over the world. Or just burn it to the ground. In-game, these choices are called Dominate or Destroy, where you turn the towns you conquer into either your willing slaves or little piles of ash and body parts. For first-time players, or those going for 100% completion, I would suggest the Domination option, due to the townsfolk periodically giving you tributes of gold, as well as forging equipment for your troops. The added benefits of gold and free equipment are a great help to new players, but if you've already done a Domination playthrough, or have a chaotic streak, the Destruction path has its own little joys to it. Run, fatty, run! Run from the Overlord! Both paths unlock unique spells and upgrades that make them both equally viable, and whichever you choose is completely based on preference. But be warned, while neither path has large drawbacks, be careful in Domination playthroughs. Kill so much as one villager and you will be unable to get a full Domination score, so be careful when using the Evil Presence spell. Even though the Overlord is probably badass enough to fight on his own, even he needs help from time to time. Fortunately, you will not be alone while undertaking this campaign. You will be accompanied by your servants, the Minions. They are your loyal troopers who will follow your every command, no matter what you do to them. The Minions' characteristics and skills are distinguished through their color. Browns are your basic rank and file who have the most health and are the toughest overall fighters, charging fearlessly at your foes with reckless abandon, but are a little slow and drown in inch-deep water. Reds are your fireball-throwing artillery who can't take many hits. Too bad they forget that most of the time, thinking that they're instead browns with a fire enchantment. And they drown in inch-deep water. Greens are your sneaky stealth and backstabbing units. Too bad that 99% of the fighting is full frontal assault. And yes, they drown in inch-deep water. Lastly, there are the blues, who are your healers and don't drown in inch-deep water. Too bad everything else can easily kill them, even while they're healing. As you might have guessed, the typical strategy for fights is to Zerg rush the enemy with your browns and try to keep a rein on your other minions. For almost the entire game, I found using a horde of mostly browns, a few greens, and maybe one or two reds and blues to be all I really needed.
Yeah, I know it seems like a good idea to have artillery and healing units, but the browns are equipped for pretty much anything you'll run into, and the blues tend to die even when they're reviving other minions. And even if your minions do die, you have hundreds of them waiting to take their place.
Another important aspect useful for keeping your minions alive is the looting system. When enemies are defeated or objects are destroyed, there is a chance that weapons or armor will be left behind. Moving your minions over to these drops will cause them to pick up and equip the items they find. The minions will always look for equipment that is better than what they already have, which will increase their battle efficiency and their chances of survival. A strategy I use is to nominate one brown as your lieutenant. a minion who has the best armor and leads your horde. This is a great way to hold on to boss-specific equipment drops, which are always stronger and more badass than the run-of-the-mill stuff. If your lieutenant happens to die, as minions are wont to do, don't fret, go down to the minion burrows to have him resurrected. It'll cost you some useless minions, the amount depending on how strong your lieutenant was when he died, but screw them, they're weak. And look at that guy, he has a phoenix on his head! Throughout the world, there are special pickups which offer benefits to the Overlord. Some of these things are useful, like the spell stones and forge stones, and some are...
You found a harp, sire! I believe Quaver has just fainted with excitement.
Useless. The most helpful of these upgrades are the minion totems. There are 6 in total, and finding them all will increase your horde count far beyond what you start with. You'll find your first totem just before you reach Nordberg. After you go along the main path, you'll come across a side path where you'll find some cages full of gnomes, and one guard, okay? Don't know what he's doing here. Anyway, moving along, down at the end of this road, you'll come across the first totem. You'll find the second totem just after you finish the construction site area. There are these little carts that you have to have your minions push around. This one, when you reach it, don't push all the way down the tracks. Stop it when you reach the little pile of rocks on the side. Have your minions let go, and you can either have your reds blow it up, or have the archers blow it up like I'm doing. And just let it go, and boom! And there's the next totem. The third one is slightly trickier to find than the other ones. On the isles outside of Everlight, you'll have a chance to steal a boat from some elves. You need this because it has a special ramming ability that the boat you start with doesn't have. So now you just need to start sailing around the islands. You'll see a bunch of these mooring points here. The one you're looking for has a bunch of rocks piled up next to it. So you gotta line up the ship, bring it up to ramming speed, and boom! All the rocks go flying out of your way. And there's a mooring point just past these, if I can line up my ship correctly. And there we go. Alright, get off of your ship and the totem's right there. The next totem's really easy to find, but really fun to get. It's while you're ripping things up with your minions here. Boom! Get out of my way, I'm the Overlord, bitch! You'll get a brief viewing of the slave encampment in Everlight, and there's the totem, just kind of sitting in front of that gate. The totem in the Empire is also kind of easy to find. It's like the one in Nordberg, that it's on its own separate path. No, I do not want to know what you had to do to get your freedom. Anyway, outside of the slave encampment in the Empire, you take this left path, and up at the top is the next totem. The last totem is in the Wastelands, and... God, I hate that these things keep showing up. Anyway, just outside the teleportation area, you'll come across a village with infected hobbits. Yes, there are zombie hobbits in this game. You'll have to head farther into the village to find the totem. While you're going around, make sure to close all of these holes. Otherwise, the zombits will not stop coming. Oh my god, how many more of there are you? Anyway, farther into the village, you'll come across this gate, and as soon as you destroy it, that's where the last totem will be. While carrying this totem, be careful, because the hobbits can come and kill your minions while they're carrying it. Even if you have all the minion totems, it doesn't mean your horde size is at its maximum. In order to do this, you have to find the last forge stone, which will let you make the Infernal Helmet. This will increase your horde size by 5 and get it to the maximum of 50. But having a max horde size won't matter unless you have all the minion types. And even though you only need the browns and the greens, the story forces you to go and get the blues. So I'm going to show you how to get them. Like most of the minion dungeons, you start out alone. This can be a problem since the blues have 0 combat efficiency and there are enemies down here. You'll get your first blue by pushing this button and he'll fall from the ceiling. Alright buddy, let's get going. Alright, follow me. And he's not following me. Hey, dumbass, let's get going. Okay, apparently the blues not only suck at combat, they can't follow orders either. The next area you'll come to is this partly submerged area, which shows off the blues' swimming ability. It's about the only thing they have going for them. And they can't go through this small hole. Come on, it's not that hard. There you go. Okay, once you have 4 or 5 blues, you need to sweep them over so they can turn a lever and open a gate for you. Now, hopefully they can do this without screwing it up. And good job, boys. Or girls, I can't really tell you apart. Was that sexist? Nah, I've heard worse. Anyway, the next area is pretty easy to figure out. You just gotta push the buttons whenever the blues are in the center, and it drops to the vases that they are in, and they come running to you. You just gotta keep doing this until you stop seeing the blue aura around the vases, because that means there aren't any blues left. Oh my god, this next area is amazing. So you use your blues in this button to work a crane and pick up other blues. Then you bring them to the center and drop them off the ledge to kill them instantly. This is supposed to show that the blues can resurrect other minions, and I hate blues as much as the next guy, but why do you have to kill them in order to rescue them? So after murdering them a little, you learn about the blues' flicker ability, which is, as long as you're sweeping them and they're in motion, they can't be hurt. How that works, I have no idea, but apparently they can move through guards in order to hit switches and pull levers. Now, just to really hammer the point home, the next area is just one giant flicker puzzle. Now make sure the blues do not stop moving. If they stop moving for even like a nanosecond, they will instantly be found and probably killed. Yeah, so how much fun is this? You get to fight the elite guards of the Empire with a bunch of blues backing you up. I hope you're ready for a fight, because if you're not, you will be killed very quickly. So now that you've found enough blues, you can go back to the boat and have them push it for you. It works basically the same as the boats in Everlight. Just gotta get it moving. There we go. And you gotta follow the hive, so it's basically wherever the boat can fit under. The next area is the palace, which doesn't have any enemies in it, but it's a good place to farm for gold, and a pretty good place to find some equipment for your blues. After the palace comes the really hard part. You get thrown into the arena, but the only minions you can use in the beginning are blues and reds. Yeah, doesn't that sound like fun? Using blues that have 0 combat ability and reds who can't take many hits. To increase your chances of survival, make your way around the edge of the arena. You'll find an area that has a bunch of those explosive barrels like you saw in Nordberg. Make sure to keep a few reds alive in order to blow these up. Behind each of the explosive areas are a bunch of browns and a bunch of greens. After fighting wave after wave of enemies, you finally come to your last challenge, your old pal the Yeti. Now in order to win, you don't actually have to hurt him. You have to use these staircases to get your minions up into the stands. This will give you a clear shot at the pillars that are holding up the podium where the Emperor is. Sweep your minions over to them and victory is yours. Once you decide what you want to do with the Yeti, you can finally get the blue hive and then get out of there. So now you've got your full horde, ready to pillage and plunder at your command. But of course, everyone knows you need more than an army to be a proper overlord. You also need the wenches. After a hard day of spreading fear into the hearts of men, isn't it nice to just unwind with a good foursome? In order to set up this saucy situation, you have to periodically check back with your mistresses. Each one of them wants separate upgrades for your tower. There are 7 of them in total, and in order to initiate the fun, you have to make sure each mistress has 2 separate upgrades while leaving your banner as your own. And if you do this, you get...
At least for the next, 30 minutes?
Maybe an hour, if you keep us company.
Why don't you come inside and see how well we can all get along?
Well, I think that's enough for today. I hope this walkthrough will help you get through some of the more difficult parts of Overlord 2. If you have any ideas for future videos, feel free to leave a comment in the box below. Until we meet again, I'm Drod, and I'll see you next time you need a lifeline.